Well, this is Nick Castle, who played the Shape in the movie.
And this is Dean Cundey. I was the director of photography.
I'm Tommy Lee Wallace. I did a couple of different jobs on the movie, which the credits make obvious.
And I remember shooting this title shot, the flickering of the pumpkin.
It was in a garage,
yeah,
wasn't it off of Sunset?
Yeah, it was just a garage and against black. And, it was a very interesting image to start the thing with and as a title.
Yeah, Deborah was in charge of that shoot, as I recall. Deborah Hill.
Yeah.
And this is as good a place and time as any to sort of pay tribute to her. As I recall, there was, in the beginning, there was a lot of mumbling about Deborah, the director's girlfriend, and sort of nepotism and all this. And it didn't take more than about 4 days for everyone to realize, man, she was born to this job of producing. She really deserved to have that job, and she did such a great job.
I had worked with her as she was a script supervisor on about 4 or 5 low-budget movies, and I was immediately impressed by the fact that she was interested in the story. She would come to me and say, wouldn't it be interesting if the character did this or that? And, it was aware of the fact, here she is, Deborah, that she was very perceptive about story and visual storytelling.
And kind of had an angle, not only a writer's angle, but a sort of commercial angle, too. She was always thinking about what will the audience go nuts for.
Exactly.
Oh, there's a lot to say about this next sequence, and probably not enough time to say it all, but Dean.
Well, the Steadicam had been invented just a little bit before this. Had been used for 1 or 2 shots on various movies, but John wanted to really exploit it as a way of moving the camera in a way that we hadn't seen before. So
handheld wasn't what he was after.
No, because it's too jerky, too obvious that it's being carried by a person. This gives you more of a floating sensation. So we devised this very elaborate shot that is long and continuous, the longest Steadicam shot that had been done at the time.
You'd have to imagine that the soundtrack had to be completely reworked because relighting and reset decorating is going on during the shot. Okay, right now, as soon as we look away from that room, there are gaffers and electrics jumping through the windows.
Moving lights, quick, get that out of there. Oh, wait, here they come. They're coming down the side of the house. Get ready.
And the camera, around the camera, there was a lot going on. Deborah was in a little clown suit because coming up here, she's going to be the hand of the young Michael Myers reaching into the drawer. So she was on hand. I was along with a bucket of blood and a paintbrush. Let's see, I guess Ray Stella of Hollywood was operating, and you were next to him.
And I operated a couple of these shots. Now, that's out of focus because the lenses, the anamorphic lenses that give us this widescreen image, couldn't focus very close. Oop, there goes a camera shadow. One of the few flaws in the whole thing.
But CGI that right out.
Yeah, which they could, but so now we're in a room that has been completely relit while we were going around the back of the house.
And we'll get relit again while we're upstairs.
Right.
Because I think we have a glance into it, so that had to be taken care of, so you didn't see a light and stuff. Oh, let me mention, too, that this is an old house. You see it in the movie as an old haunted house, and that was its natural state. What you have here is a renovated house. This shot was carefully worked out, and if you were to move the camera and tilt it over, pan it over to the right or the left, it's like raw wood, and it was set decorated just for the shot.
This staircase was extremely narrow because it was, as you say, John and Tommy, a very old house, and it was very, very difficult to get up with the camera, which you have to wear on your chest and with an arm and everything. So it was a very, very difficult shot.
We did about 4 or 5 takes, as I recall, and it's a long, elaborate process. And in the end, we cheated a little. We changed takes during the putting on of the mask, and I think there's one other place where we did a cut. So it's really 3 different takes.
I just have an observation here, which is this is a very long Steadicam shot, but a very short sex scene it was.
It was. I was surprised that the guy's staying power was very, very limited.
Yeah.
Was that Deborah stabbing too?
Yes, she was, and the young girl dying was quite voluptuous. I can't imagine why the guy would leave so hurriedly, but
Right. There were so many people chasing after the camera, doing the various jobs.
And now we come out the front door, facing the opposite way we first saw
from
the
where we
house.
started. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And cut to the young Michael Myers.
Those 2 shots were one entire day's work.
Yeah, you know, I was very impressed by the fact that John and Deborah were willing to commit a day to doing that shot that sets up so stylistically the movie. Nobody had seen a shot like that prior to this, and you know, the fact that they were willing to do it.
Very gutsy thing to do.
It was.
And a generous amount of time. We that's why it came off so well, because we really did have enough time to get it right.
Yeah, so often, you know, in low-budget films, a shot like that, you'd try to do it in an hour.
Yeah.
And it would be, you know, very half-assed, and that way, this one was, you know, for most purposes, an unforgettable beginning to a movie.
Speaking of unforgettable, I bet, Nick, you'll never forget the night we shot all this stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
You were kind of exposed, were you not?
Well, I was. This was this evening, as you can see, they were doing fake rain, well, real rain, but coming out of a hose, and
Icy cold.
yeah. When we get to the part, you'll see how I was attired, which was my underwear and a hospital gown.
Funny, that's exactly what I was wearing.
Yeah, everyone,
behind the camera.
All of us.
everyone was wearing that in
Empathy for you.
in empathy. Thank you.
Shot up around the Lake Hollywood Reservoir.
Ah, yes. I have trouble sometimes remembering where these locations are. The houses I remember in South Pasadena and in Hollywood, but there are some other places that.
What did we do this like poor man's process?
Yes, this was poor man's process, which means you're not really driving the car. You just have it in a garage. You set up lights that move and everything, and someone bounces the car. And
Extremely well done, Dean. I mean, that little cheap trick can be done so badly, and
yeah,
this is convincing.
Well, and it's interesting because this is one of the first times I had had the opportunity to do poor man's process. So you have to be very thoughtful about, you know, well,
What does it really look like?
Yeah, what would the real world lighting be, and how would it change and stuff. And so it was, you know, this film I think was a learning experience for a lot of us.
I think you had some kind of light on a big stand that rotated like a helicopter blade, and then on a dimmer so that it went on and off as it
Yeah,
came
it
and
was,
went.
you know, and lights coming through various windows on dimmers so that you could give the impression of movement. And of course Donald Pleasance, who lived up to his name, a very pleasant fellow, at least as far as I knew.
Mm-hmm.
Very professional.
Showed up.
Doing a very, very small movie, apparently.
Yeah, I think he thought he was slumming at the beginning, but he respected everyone. He saw we were really.
Oh, who was that?
That was me.
Oh, that's what you look like when you're asleep.
Now, if everyone just goes to their remote,
My hand.
that's Tommy, though.
Yeah. It was one of those things about interacting with the set or with actors close up. The hand business came about, I think, because I was always around the set, doing utility stuff or props or banging the window,
Yeah, and you don't see the wrench that's hidden in his hand. That was used to actually break the glass, since a real hand wouldn't do it.
I've forgotten that.
Yeah. If you still frame it, you can see the wrench.
He's gone. He's gone. The evil is gone from here.
He's gone from this place.
Yeah. Charles Bornstein and I in the cutting room got our Donald Pleasance imitations down.
Ah, very good.
And quickly. Somewhere in South Pasadena, I think.
Yeah. And the leaves falling, because it's, of course, October, fall in the story.
Well, lots of tales to tell about making it Southern California be autumn.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly
I remember you had a bag of leaves
Yeah,
that we carried with us.
It came down to getting pumpkins that were really green squashes from South America. This is springtime in L.A. It's John's car.
Is that a Coupe de Ville?
Yes, sir. It is indeed.
And the appearance of
Laurie
Strode.
There's Laurie Strode. She was such a trooper, real Girl Scout kind of,
She was.
helped carry camera cases and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, all those brown leaves, you see, we went down to this floral supply company in downtown LA and got branches of these things. The only way we could find, convincing looking leaves, plucked them off the branches because they were meant to be in great big jars for parties and things.
Right.
Decorative.
Where are they
notes.
now? I don't see any leaves there, Tom.
Well,
This is,
couldn't always stay ahead of the
that's
game.
the spring side of the street.
I
That's-
see.
That might be the palm tree side of the street too.
Yeah, I remember wrapping vines and things around.
Oh, we wrestled with that issue of how to. I had these visions of get some plastic chain link and weave vines into it and make big shrouds, but mostly we just shot around them. Hey, wow, there's my old car, that Volkswagen back there.
Is that the stolen car?
Yeah. Anyway, these leaves amounted to about 4 garbage bags, and they were very precious and cost a substantial amount of our budget for the art department. So after each take, we would rake them up and scoop them up and put them in the bags and get ready to go again. Just blow them out there with a fan or drop them over the top of the camera.
Did you use the Steadicam on these kind of shots, or just on the specialty shots?
That sort of became our movement of choice, using the Steadicam. It became, I think this was the show that used it the most ever up to that point. And we would use it to track along with people, but then also as a point of view of the shape of Michael Myers, to create, sort of the suspense and tension.
It was one of those very happy coincidences of
There's
of tone. It gives off a strange tension of sorts that's hard to describe, but the results are stupendous.
Yeah.
This is one of my best pieces of work here.
You know what?
My left shoulder.
Anytime I see that shot, my eyes just well up with tears.
Yeah.
That's the essence of what turns out to be called suit acting. There is a guy who, the original King Kong, is now touring the country at various festivals.
Godzilla, not King Kong.
Yeah, Godzilla, sorry. And I didn't realize that the term was he's one of the hero suit actors of all time.
So would you call me maybe the Brando of suit actors, Tommy?
I might.
Yeah, but I think the fact that you're such a method kind of guy, shows up in your work.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it sort of adds a lot to every scene. Seriously speaking, being the son of a dancer, I think that John was serious about wanting someone who didn't lurch around, who moved well, who glided along, and you certainly had that quality.
Yeah,
and it's no small thing, because later movies, sequels, people tended to hire stuntmen, and most of them sort of lurch around.
Yeah, they walk as if they're menacing as opposed to being evil.
Which I am.
Yeah,
an evil dancer.
Yeah, exactly.
It turns out, though, I was the worst tap dancer in my dad's tap dancing class. I don't know if that had any bearing, really.
Really?
There's a good example of, we call that the Shape Mobile, and because this is a $300,000 picture, that was also the main vehicle for the art department to get our stuff around. The one thing I love about Halloween is you talk about back to basics. We're not talking about a gore fest here. It is a creation of expectation and then being toyed with over and over again. Now you see it, now you don't.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen now?
Yeah.
The essence of suspense and just old school trickery. I really admire that to this day. It was extremely well done.
Yeah.
And let's remember, it started with a really simple, effective script.
And the fact that this was sort of the first of this, new take on the genre, so there wasn't a lot of reference before this as how to do suspense other than just really good suspenseful movies, Hitchcock and guys like that.
You can see the evolution or devolution, if you wish, in from the time of this movie to the time that Halloween 2 got made. A couple of years went by, and in that time, so many imitators and other movies for which the doors opened at that point, immediately there was a sort of inflation of violence. Each movie felt it had to outdo and get gorier and rougher, so that by the time Halloween 2 came along, that was a great deal more of a gore fest.
Yeah, and I think one of the impressive things about this movie is how effective it is, and we made a very conscious effort to not use blood. There's
very little.
There's no blood.
I think maybe Nancy in the car, just a little hint of it. Nancy Loomis, my ex-wife.
Mm. And speaking of exes, this is my son's ex-school. He went to elementary school here. We lived literally one block from here. So this film was quite a family event.
It's interesting. I'm noticing that there's very sparse use of the mask, of seeing the mask close.
Yeah,
early on.
The looming shape and step.
Which, a lot of backs, a lot of shoulders. With that one shot, I guess, looking out the window of the schoolroom, you could see it flat on, but that's pretty far away. So if that was designed, that was a kind of interesting way of approaching it.
It is. I think it was always, leave something else to be revealed.
Mm-hmm. See, don't get too familiar with the monster is the technique.
Right.
John is a huge fan of older, vintage, scary movies, monster movies, and the rules are simple: is don't get too familiar with the bad guy, with the monster. Keep it in shadow. Use POVs instead of constantly looking at it and seeing it, demystifying it.
That's a clue.
This was out in San Dimas.
Yeah.
Hey, Barry Bernardi.
There's Barry Bernardi.
Cameo appearance.
Who
Famous
was
producer.
He was a production assistant.
Yeah.
Who has now become a very esteemed producer.
That was his truck, and he
Big
loaded Cokes into coolers and put them back there. I believe that was his first movie experience.
It was. and he's now producing for Adam Sandler movies.
Mm-hmm. Miss P.J. Souls, South Pasadena High School. A lot of South Pasadena. I was enchanted with that community, and to this day have a sort of history of it. I have a place down there.
Yeah, and I live in Pasadena, right next door to it, so it seems like we've gravitated to some fond sensibilities.
A shot like this reveals that very fact of its character. It just
Oh yeah, the overhanging
trees,
the
moody
stone,
shadows,
yeah,
older houses,
the green and green
wonderfully moody
bungalows.
ivy, the occasional palm tree.
Yeah.
That we're not supposed to notice.
No, look the other way, please.
So who cares? I always forget my chemistry book and my math book and my English book and my French book and
Shape Mobile.
Of course, even though I don't think any of us had anything to do with the music, one must have to acknowledge it, even in this commentary.
Absolutely, and I think it was such a great instinct of John to use a 5/4 tempo, which is not at all sort of like you might call rhythmic and expected.
Can't get too used to it. It's not so predictable.
Right.
But what was it? AFI or someone gave this like one of the top 100 scores in the history of movies.
Ah,
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
well, I can see why. Certainly evocative, and it's like you can't hear it without thinking of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get people to get scared just when the music comes on, which of course is what happened with Psycho in the shower scene.
Oh yeah, the something's going to happen music, I call it.
Yeah, and John certainly achieved that.
Three choices. Watch the kids sleep, listen to Linda screw around, or talk to you.
we're so mad.
Is there any ivy in Haddonfield? For real?
I don't know.
Well, Haddonfield, maybe we should clarify. Haddonfield is Deborah's hometown in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I bet they have ivy up there. But there are several, there's since this movie, several places claim there's a town in Illinois that, though it's not named Haddonfield, it's decided it's the town that the film was modeled after.
Modeled around. Mm-hmm.
And they make quite a bit. They have a map where all the places.
Presumably,
Yeah.
there's the first glimpse of the face.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Castle
Thank you.
taking a important step.
Yep. It wasn't quite a jeté, but it was nevertheless stylistic.
Subtle, isn't he?
Nice little move from the camera, just
To reveal he's not there. That's one of the things that I was immediately impressed with, is that John was a visual storyteller. And I had worked on so many movies before this, probably about 8 low-budget movies, where the camera was used as a device to record actors talking and things blowing up. And the fact that John was interested in and receptive to, suggestions that were about storytelling, and I think the fact that so much of the film, as we'll see as we get into it, interiors and everything, were done very carefully in single shots, wide shots, and so forth. Not a lot of cutting, close-ups and back and forth between actors talking and so forth. So much of it plays that it really draws you into, a scene, because you're watching the characters as opposed to that, oh my Gosh,
Great
that's
fake scare.
Yeah.
Phony little. I wasn't listening to the soundtrack at that moment. I can't remember if that was stung with a musical cue or not. It's quite effective just without.
Yeah.
What you were saying, Dean, invites comment on the aspect ratio. 235 anamorphic is I won't try to explain the technical details of it, but it's a genuine widescreen where the image is stretched
way
across.
wider than it is high.
Yeah, and you can do so much with that frame. But John's original attempts with widescreen came on a movie called Assault on Precinct 13, where there was even less money to work with. But John insisted on three things, as he did on Halloween here. Three aspects of the production. One was Panavision widescreen anamorphic, and another was the best lab in town at that time, which was MGM. And third was that he insisted on post-production sound at Sam Goldwyn Studios, which was also looked upon as maybe the best or one of the best. And as a result, the first time we looked at dailies, it was in a motel room, actually. One of the producers was renting at the time on a bed sheet. And yet with this small projector and this stretched image, it just floored me. It was such a rich image that I thought, we're going to fool everybody. This looks like $1 million. And of course, making $100,000 look like $1 million is a big deal.
10 to 1.
But
it's to me that's always been one of the things that there are certain things the audience will experience, visual, sound, performances. And if you can fulfill those, as we tried to do in this film, there's a lot that marks the film as worthy for an audience, and a lot of times subconsciously they don't know why a film looks cheesy or why it looks good, but if you can come up to their subconscious expectations, then you've really done a lot to make your film sort of stand out.
That sequence furnished entirely from Nancy's and my bedroom at the time. Another comment on that scene we just saw, that's a reshoot. You remember we shot that once, and it's not that it came out terrible, it was just dull. It's a kind of a testimonial to when John felt he needed to, he didn't hesitate to go back and get after a scene and make it just look better. He wasn't happy at the performance, perhaps, and certainly the way it looked. And there wasn't anything that wrong with it, but it was flat. And second time around, looking back on it, it really glows and is beautiful.
Oh, there's my son in the Superman suit.
Hey.
My daughter in the Red Riding Hood suit, and here they are again.
Sort of like we went from when she came out of her house, the leaves were falling all around, and then it's like, whoa, we sort of ran out of leaf power.
Well, maybe there was a big wind.
Yeah, I guess we have to look at it that way. Well, covering that vast, I don't think we had the leaf power to cover a distance that large. It had to be a more controlled setting.
Yes.
Oh, there we go, Tommy. It's the Coupe de Villes.
Ah, yes. The mighty Coupe de Villes on the radio. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the Coupe de Villes consisted of John, Nick, and myself, a vocal group with guitar accompaniment. And that got started at USC for several different student films that we were invited along to provide song power for.
Eventually doing the title track to
Big Trouble in Little China. Yeah, I guess that was our heyday. I think for about 5 minutes that was on MTV.
Exactly.
We made a video and everything.
And now I hear there's like T-shirts and mugs available. Pictures from the actual Coupe de Villes.
Well, I'm going to have to go online and see where I can find those.
That's right.
I bet if you ask Nick real nice, you can shortcut.
So again, this is a sample of the sparse shooting style. That whole beginning was one shot, even up to here, and with one shot of the missing headstone, we shot an entire scene with a Steadicam, all in one shot, and it keeps you captivated watching it because you don't need all of the cutting back and forth and the exceptional length of time it would to shoot all those pieces.
Yeah, the special added bonus, how fast you can move and get more shot during a given day. Because say if any one of those shots have been shot with a dolly, you've got to get the dolly, you got to lay the track, you got to level it up, and maybe.
And it limits the actors where they can walk and how you can
they
tell
have
the
to hit their
story.
marks. If you've got a Steadicam going, the cameraman can save a take just by adjusting
Right.
when the actors miss their marks.
I remember John was always, a nut for authenticity. That was real marijuana.
I
think
I
any-
remember it. You actually sold it to them, I think,
Yes.
didn't you?
Exactly.
Hey, this is right in the middle of Meridian at Mission,
Yeah.
right in the middle of South Pasadena. And a very young-looking Charles Cyphers.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
Oh, somebody broke into the hardware store. Probably kids.
You blame everything on kids.
Well, now all they took was some Halloween mask, a rope, and a couple of knives.
Another thing John was very old school about, and I'll harp on it because I'm in the room here with two other directors, and I'm sure the two of you are just as finicky about stage lines as I am. And then I'll notice big movies, these people directing them are missing stage lines and setting up the camera on the wrong side of the action. And
Yeah, to me, it's, people say, the audience won't know that. But I think it's a disconcerting, again, subconscious thing that an audience can get confused or distracted or, there's the Shape-Mobile again. The audience can get distracted, and they may not know why they're uncomfortable. And people do it in the name of being stylish.
yeah, they just know, they have a feeling. I want to put
Yeah.
the camera here because I like the way it.
Yeah.
But it's a crucial bit of stagecraft that I think it's gotten.
Yeah.
So many movies have gotten very sloppy
And
about it.
And it shows your sort of polish if you can maintain the stage direction and screen direction. If you can do that.
Didn't I hear that Deborah directed this scene?
Yes, I believe so. It was a handheld camera in the rear
Yeah.
seat.
And we were losing the light, as you can see. Just a beautiful,
It was
nice bit of timing.
Yeah,
This
it was a transition. We were going to go to night, which is, I believe, the next sequence. So we implied the end of the day with this sunset.
and got some nice blasts from into the lens with
Yeah.
that golden light. And sometimes you don't get a second chance. I remember we did a couple other takes, but that was the one that had the magic.
Right. Into the sunset.
Was that us wedding down that street?
Yes,
Mhm.
I think it was.
And it looked like you did a fade out too, a kind of slow creep towards a fade, just to make this cut a little.
Yes, because we are now at night.
Yeah.
And
That was good.
minutes away, but halfway across Los Angeles to Hollywood.
Yeah, Orange Grove Boulevard. We're going to see a lot of night from here on out, and so I just want to compliment you, Dean. Night for night can be done really badly, and here you really showed your great eye, your mastery of the technique of somehow coming up with enough light that you can see things, things that are important or articulated, but it doesn't look phony. It doesn't look like somebody just set up a light.
Yeah, well, thank you. One of the things that is always difficult on a low budget show is how do you light a large night exterior like this when you don't have nearly as much equipment as you'd like. But I think that it goes the other way, which is on a big budget show now, you can have as much equipment as you want, and you can end up over lighting something so that it does look funny.
Yeah, it looks like it was a day.
Yeah. So this was a case of finding out what was the important thing in the frame, and how do you direct the audience's attention to that with just the right amount of light and equipment.
I believe that was a dolly shot. Looks like a nice boom up.
Yeah, it is. A little boom up that reveals the Michael Myers house at night.
John was a big fan of Chinatown. He may have even shown you that movie at one point.
Yes, we did watch it.
Yeah, and little subtle things that was a very Polanski thing to do, was let the car pull into the frame and then do a post-up move. Nice,
right.
Slow, moody post-up move. Now, we shot this before, when the haunted house was, I call it that, when the old place was
deserted and
all trashed. Got all that out of the way, and then I think we went away and had a day or two to prepare those parts of the house that needed to look
What were they
current.
looking at?
Hmm?
What were they looking at just then?
They come into this house because it was the old Myers house, I guess. And
I can't remember what they
were looking on the ground. We couldn't
Well,
hear.
you got your earphones on. What did it say?
You guys were talking.
I can't remember.
Sorry. Maybe we should just stop talking so you can watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
fair.
Nick.
These people are trying to watch the movie. We're just yapping.
It's that gutter. It's actually quite a bit of dialogue, because I was working. The budget for the art department was pretty low, but I could afford a piece of gutter from the hardware store that had been aged down, so I recall. And it got to play an important part in the.
Mm-hmm. Some breakaway glass.
Well, yeah. After buying it at the hardware store and all, I really wanted to see it get used. I think John, that as you were saying before, Dean, John, on set and during production and pre-production, was always a good collaborator. He was ready for good ideas, suggestions. He knew how to say no, but he incorporated lots of other people's ideas into his stuff, which I think is the mark of a confident director. And competent director, someone who's always listening and doesn't mind having a good idea from wherever it comes.
Yeah, and understanding what a particular shot should do, and if you have some way to embellish it, being able to understand how it can help whatever it is he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. It's funny too. There's a very wry sense of humor running through Halloween. It's not jokey, and it's not at the expense of all the goings on, but in fact I think serves them very well by providing lots of moments of relief and sort of letting the audience come back down to zero and relieve all the tension, and then you can start building it up again. And the dynamics of that are not unlike making a comedy, wouldn't you say, Nick? I mean, you create either a sense of humor and expectation of funny things, or you create a sense of suspense and expectation of scary things.
Yeah, and I think you can, whether it's humor or suspense. It all relies on leading the audience somewhere and then spinning it, twisting it.
Playing with it, and
Right.
messing with endless variations on the theme.
Then here's a good example of, a scene, and several of them that take place in this house that are could have been cut up into a lot of coverage over shoulders and close-ups and all that conversation on the couch. And it played very well in one. And now you isolate the characters when they're on the phone. So it's how you use the frame, and you pick your coverage carefully so that you got time to spend it on other things.
Yeah, if you have a giant budget and all the time in the world, the tendency is to shoot every possible angle that you could conceivably use in the cutting room. And what you wind up with are so many options that you could actually do 10 different versions of the movie. But I think more often than not, it's good practice for the director to go ahead and commit to his or her vision and just shoot what you need.
Yeah, and spend the time getting performances out of the actors.
Mm-hmm. Nancy got a lot of mileage out of that kind of character. She played it right along, so that critics started calling it the Nancy Loomis character.
Oh.
Was in Assault on Precinct 13. It was in this one. It's that wry, sort of slightly naughty but sincere friend thing. John got a lot of mileage out of and had a lot of fun, I think, on this movie, and certainly on The Fog a little bit later, naming all the streets and people after friends of ours from back in Bowling Green, Kentucky in our teenage days and earlier. Russellville Road and this, that, and the other, and actually naming characters. It got pretty self-referential. I think one of these characters is named Tommy Wallace.
Yes.
A nude scene.
Yeah.
Nancy did a nude scene.
Semi-nude scene.
Aw, turned around.
Yeah, now there's one of the things that I found interesting is that this wide screen, which is twice as wide as it is high, very often directors would say, "Oh, well, it's too wide. You can't shoot a close-up with this because you've got all that empty space on the sides of the character's face and the head." And when in reality, it gives you a lot more compositional area to build suspense as we did here.
Yeah, and I think the barrier for some directors is don't worry about giving them a haircut and having the frame cut through their forehead or up higher by some. It just, the audience gets used to that.
Here's a little foreshadowing, by the way.
Again, as in John's quest for authenticity, we did kill the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, we killed the dog.
Yeah, lots of animals were harmed in the
Yeah.
making of this.
But here is
How about that?
the thing.
Oh, and you didn't know at that point that you would do this.
Although, it was certainly, John had referred to this as one of his favorite
all-time movies.
Movies, so it was, of course, only logical that he would later make a version of it. But here we are making use of that wide screen by, doing one shot that includes both characters talking, and then cut to a close-up when you need it.
That was interesting framing, though. You went over the head instead of over the shoulder of the boy, so it wouldn't be an awkward look up.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. And since he was shorter, there's every excuse to do that.
Well, if you drop down too, you lose your background and wind up with a blank wall and ceiling.
Right.
Right.
That's a nice exemplary 3-shot scene, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of nice character touches here, in terms of scenes. The dialogue seems that maybe is it extraneous to the plot? It is, but it develops the characters. It gives depth to
and empathy for them
and
as
empathy.
People being killed as opposed to cardboard victims.
It's not a body count thing.
Yeah.
And that's where that humor comes in too. You get with them and you start laughing a little bit, even if it's nervous laughter. And it's like, oh shit,
Yeah.
you know. And suddenly she's in serious contrast here. It's light and shadow.
Mm-hmm. Silhouetted.
Not much fill on her face at all.
And again, it's there are some directors who would say, "Well, I can't see her face," with that exact kind of voice. I pay all this money for this actor, and I can't see. But you're really building the mood.
Yeah. What?
If you can see too much, you figure, well, the actors can see everything too. Why would it be?
Yeah.
scary?
Why would they be that stupid?
Yeah.
I'd completely forgotten that the thing is featured here.
Uh-huh. Don't go near that window.
Yeah. Whatever you do. Yeah, where's it going to happen? We know it's going to happen. It's just that simple technique.
Mm-hmm.
Where and when.
Yeah. Is it this? Oh, no, it's not this. Is it now? Oh, no, it's... Yeah. Oh, it was. Oh, no.
And you're being pulled through with fabulous expectation. And setting up various places for later payoffs. So you know kind of the architecture and the floor plan, and so when somebody comes running through somewhere, there's a doorway or whatever it is. All those little building blocks are so important.
Now promise me you won't tell anybody about this.
Nice too, Dean, because I think you often manage to find a way to split the difference where, okay, there's a lot of silhouette, a lot of shadow, but at the moment when the actor needs it, they sort of come into a pool of light. That's no accident.
And here's an interesting shot, I think, that's, you follow her over, the doorway was empty behind her, and then you follow her over, and there's something there, and then you follow her over, and he's gone.
And you wonder, how did I do that?
Yeah.
How did Nick Castle do that?
He just showed up and went and said, "Am I supposed to be here?" And we said, "No, the coffee's over there," and he disappeared.
Special magic.
Yeah, right as we were shooting. That's the kind of shot that takes the ability to visualize the movie, how to tell the story with the camera, how to use the widescreen aspect ratio to to, get the audience involved.
This is a great wide frame. You've got this 2-shot, but there's this television show going on over in the corner which provides interest. You don't have to run in for a lot of coverage.
And it's a scary movie, which
Yeah.
keeps the mood
It's
of
just the right
this
amount
film.
of time that you didn't have to do anything but just sit there in a oneer.
Right.
Artfully done there, Nick.
Thank you.
And we'll keep his face dark so he's implied but not obvious.
Yeah, cold and blue outside and warm and golden in here. We'll be safe here for a second.
Exactly. And then here's the case of another one shot that handles a lot.
Took a little longer to light it and set it up, but the payoff is it's just a nice, artful way of doing it. And look at that nice backlight, romantic shot. Good on you, Dean.
Now we'll follow her into some more
Yeah,
conversation.
So the benefit of
They fill the frame on each side.
that longer setup time pays off. Just a beautiful oneer.
The old Girl Scout comes through again.
My Paul, I give you all. No key.
Or we should be getting worried and afraid because we've been strung out a long time now. A lot of opportunities for the shape to strike. And
We haven't seen the shape kill anybody yet, have we? Except
No,
for when he was a little boy.
Yeah, no, he's
Since he's been
it's
in the
taking
mask.
his time. Isn't that interesting? The structure of the movie, I hadn't thought that it took that long. But the movie's interesting, the story's well told, so nobody's getting impatient with like, kill somebody, bitch. And now we know.
yeah. She's taking forever to get there. Come on. And
Oh
wait
no,
a
be
second.
afraid, be very afraid.
And she didn't notice that. Wait a second. She did notice. And what is this? Why is it? Oh my. Oh.
There we are. I think there was a little blood on the knife, and that would be it for bloodiness.
Yep. The knife appears in this next shot, I believe.
And it's short and sweet. I didn't even see it.
No.
It's just the horror of it.
And we're left with one staring eye.
Yeah, the idea. Pretty gruesome, and yet nothing to it.
Wasn't a lot of stabbing and squirting and blood hitting the windshield and things that would.
all the obvious
Wait.
things.
Yeah.
John didn't eventually go do this movie, though.
No, Forbidden Planet. He needs to.
He still has to do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a fertile field.
Yeah.
Creatures from the id.
Yeah.
Maybe that says something about the shape. He's a creature of the id.
Itty now. The kid's so clever. Look how he hides. You'd never know he's there.
what does he see?
And I don't think this is me actually carrying Nancy.
Yeah.
And I didn't get any extra stunt pay for that.
Really?
No.
Oh.
Oh, Tommy, stop it. I'm scaring Lizzie. Tommy, stop it. Now, there's nobody out there.
That was important to be careful not to cheat with the steady cam when what was called for was just a simple dolly shot.
Right.
With small
You
movement.
didn't want the sides of the frame, the camera moving in any of this, you know.
Exactly. You want to be safe in here
sense of
because we know
stability.
the shapes across the street. So
Right.
no cheating. In the cutting room, I took the same kind of counsel that I'm sure you got from John Dean, and the watchword was always keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Just simplify. Whatever you've got in mind, streamline it to the point of true simplicity.
Right.
And I think that's a good artistic watchword for...
Yeah, we can overthink, overconfuse, overshoot a lot of stuff, and I think that if you shoot a lot of stuff, for some reason you feel compelled to use it.
Well, you've been there as a director, and so have you, Nick. You spent 2 hours on that shot, and it was hell, and the actor wouldn't cooperate, and finally you got what you wanted, and you take it back in the cutting room, and it soon becomes obvious it's superfluous, and you ought to take it out. It's the hardest thing in the world, is kill that baby.
Oh, yeah. You know, you do a very elaborate camera shot with a crane and
Yeah.
movement and everything, and it's slow. It slows down the film at some particular point, but you loved that shot so much, you're torn between
And it shows
leaving
what
it
a
in. And
what a sensitive artistic fellow you are. You know, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
it's
oh,
brilliant, and the technique
absolutely,
is right
and
there.
I so cleverly worked out every nuance of this. You know, so you hate to see it go when the editor or the director watch it and say, well, it just slows down the film at this point. So, you know, there's an awful lot of really good shots that never show up in movies because
Thankfully.
because they don't serve any purpose for the film.
But have you noticed with the inflation of movie running times, a lot more of those shots are getting through to the final cut?
Yeah, and I think technically, you know, you can do so much more with the computer, with you know, remote heads that give you the chance to operate a camera in places you can't get physically, and all kinds of new technology that you're just tempted to overcomplicate films. I think you know, here by virtue of the budget, the schedule, and you know, variety of things, we were limited to you know, the equipment and the time, so we made it simple, and you know, it proves that you can do that. It doesn't have to be an elaborate film, yeah, in order to reach an audience, you know.
I'd go even farther and say, at least in the world of horror, it seems to me that the vast majority of really effective, good horror films are not big budget movies. They tend to be a little more on the low budget scale. There must be exceptions, but I think the majority of them are that way because of that demand for simplicity, and somehow it gives it a rawer edge.
Yeah, and I think it, you know, every time your eye has to adjust to another edit, another cut, or you get drawn into some kind of implausible, impossible action or explosions or transformations or any of that kind of stuff, you know, it takes you out of the movie as opposed to, you know, as we were doing here, which is so much of the film is shot in one shot, and you know, simple camera moves and you know, a reveal here of with a musical sting?
That'd be my right shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You recognize it from here?
Yeah.
I think about this time, movie post-production was moving out of a very simple sound effects, sound editing model into stereo. And stereo is a very slippery slope because the magic of movie making requires that you jump around the room at different shots. But as long as you keep the sound coming up the middle, you can preserve this illusion of depth. And the minute you decide that, well, because we reversed angle, that sound
Now has to
is
be.
now coming from the opposite side of the room.
Yeah.
And in a funny way, that I think that contributed to some of that disorientation and
And the more input I think a member has to process, an audience member, the more you can get distracted from the simplicity of the characters or story.
yeah, and destroys that veil, that illusion
Right.
that you work so hard to construct. I noticed it on Star Wars. The very first Star Wars was when I first noticed the switching of sound effect points of view. And it was like, wait, that keeps throwing me right out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking over dolly track.
Yeah.
That's why he really clomped. Trying not to shake the camera.
It's funny when you're making a horror film, or you're in the horror film, and you watch the final product, you're not scared. At least I was never scared of this movie. But then everyone says how scared they were.
Yeah,
Because
I think so.
It's a weird thing, though. So you're always guessing. As opposed to a comedy, you kind of know when you're doing it. It's pretty funny. When someone gets the acting right, it's pretty funny. And you even laugh as the director.
Yeah, you've both been to these festivals where fans come and ask questions and you sign autographs and stuff, and invariably they say, "Weren't you so scared on the set?" And you have to break it to them.
I hate to disillusion them and say, no.
It was really funny.
We
most
were
of the
laughing.
time. Yeah.
This guy's as insensitive as the guy who was doing Michael Myers' sister. He's,
Ooh.
Well, that was fabulous.
It didn't take
was
long.
Best
I think there's been
15
laughs at that.
Best 15 seconds I've ever had.
We sort of shrug in seeing PJ Souls' chest, but I remember it was huge.
It was quite a well, I don't know if I'd use the word huge, but it was quite a thing at the time.
A lot of dialogue about how much or how little to show. I remember the demands of a B movie, which this most certainly was, were that, well, we got to see something.
Yeah.
But John, I think, from the get-go felt he was making more than a B movie, and he didn't want to be just crassly exploitational about
No, this is done in the context, I think, which is very commendable. But it's interesting that both of these two deserved to die because, first of all, they're having premarital sex. Secondly, they were smoking.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that they didn't wait around to give the woman pleasure.
Exactly. So
that's three strikes, you're out.
Well, that's why he gets killed first.
He deserves to die any second now.
This is the big scare of the movie.
Yeah, it is. And it's a great sort of red herring scare, as we might call it, or a switch, which is, it seems like, oh no, it's over here. It's, no, I guess not. I guess there's nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, payoff.
Oh,
Shit.
Now I remember this was hard because John said, lift him up by the neck
yeah.
really high, as high as you can go. And of course,
I remember hearing your biceps flex at that moment.
yes. Okay, now what, John? Because it's getting
Yeah.
it's getting hard to hold him.
You just stick him up there.
Stabbing.
Stab him.
Yeah, that'll do.
And back
Look
to
how we don't even see an insert, like
Right.
none of that. It's so grisly because your imagination is filling in the blanks.
Yeah, exactly. There we see a knife stuck in there with a little light behind the knife, so it draws your attention to it.
I'll take some credit for this long hold here
Yeah.
because it just seemed grislier and grislier the longer he admired his work.
Right.
And that's the one time John actually directed me in this movie. He
Is it?
said, tilt your head as if you're admiring
Uh-huh.
your work.
Well, then you
Other than that, it was all me.
used it, the direction beautifully, I have to say. Now, of course, here's the suspense, the
And
dramatic
people don't
irony.
think the shape has a sense of humor. Come on.
Oh,
Look at this is funny, right? He must think that's funny.
Yeah,
He put a glasses on over
the
the sheet.
and the dramatic irony for the audience, which is we know who's under there. She doesn't.
she doesn't.
Right. So it builds the tension even more when she's just carrying on with her joking.
And, oh, that shape.
Yeah.
Oh, that clever, patient shape.
It obviously wants to taunt her.
Audiences, fans are always surprised to learn that we never called this thing Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the shape because that's what the script called it.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, that's very modern, kind of European of John. He never ogled her breasts. It was there. You saw, you got your glimpses, but it was just done in context.
Mm-hmm. And very real. So often you'll see after coitus, as you might say politely, that the girl for some reason is wearing her underwear, a bra and panties,
Right.
and out of modesty on the part of the actress perhaps or whatever. But this was a very real kind of moment.
Hey, Nick, you got a major close-up there.
Yeah, that was really showing the mask close.
All the people who are kind of obsessed with the shape mask want to know. They'll bring their masks to these festivals and ask about the way they're colored, and they've gone to these elaborate lengths to shade them in and do these various things. And I say, well, you need to understand something. The mask was fish belly white with no features whatsoever, and so all of that stuff is Dean Cundey lighting. That's what you're seeing. They weren't shaded at all.
And I think, to the credit of you and John and anyone involved, it made it a lot more scary than the masks you see recently, which are so textured and scarred and so forth, that try to, impose a scariness to it. The scariness was, the presence, but also the fact that you guys carried out the character so simply and effectively.
Well, that shape mask was a happy kind of landing for John's orders were to go out and find. The script was asking for a kind of blank face, and I didn't have much money to work with, and John was open to choices, and so I went up on Hollywood Boulevard and found a a store, a novelty shop that had masks in it, and there were all these masks, but most of them were silly, like Richard Nixon. It wasn't gonna help us any. And then I looked over past the Mr. Spock mask, and there was this blank-faced mask, purportedly to be Captain Kirk, but didn't especially look like William Shatner. It just looked like a blank guy. So I certainly grabbed that one. And while I was at it, I grabbed an Emmett Kelly mask. And we went back and tried them out in the production office. And it was the Emmett Kelly mask. We tried that one first. You weren't doing that day, were you, Nick? It was somebody else, I guess, was wearing the thing. But when the Emmett Kelly mask came out, everybody agreed it was eerie and spooky, and I certainly liked it and was grateful later to be able to incorporate some of that on Stephen King's It, with the clown. But then it was time to try the other mask, and when the person walked out with it, it just sent a chill down our spines. It was, oh shit, that before we get to any story or any artful lighting or anything, that is scary. So we had a tremendous advantage going in. We knew, if nothing else, that just shooting shots of this character lurking around was gonna get the job done.
Yeah.
Because it is
a good one.
Eerie, strange effect.
Okay, so from the point of finding the Captain Kirk mask to the mask itself that's used, what's done to the mask?
I just took it home. I cut out the eye holes a little bit bigger. I ripped off.
Take away some of the personality.
I think I kind of wanted the Nick to be able to see where he was going.
I see. I was getting too psychological on it.
But ripped off the sideburns, and let's see, I kinked up the hair and spray painted it a darker color. It was sort of blondish, and then took Krylon appliance white and masked off the hair and painted the whole thing just the whitest, strangest white there was, and that was that.
Mm. Wow. So you didn't do any application to the
No. It was right off the shelf. Just took away a little bit. But I have noticed since that compared to the regular Kirk mask, it did undergo some sort of metamorphosis, because it's far scarier than a plain old Kirk mask would have been. I don't know why. Probably a lot of it has to do with removing the hair from the side of the face. Mm. It looks, and messing up the hair.
Yeah. You
got to wonder what Michael Myers was thinking about when he found that mask or created it, and that's always a sticky set of questions to get into.
You know what's ironic is that I really get scared whenever I see William Shatner on the screen, which is ironic, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the touch that he finds the overalls, apparently from the red truck, and he found that. So I'm assuming that the mask was also something that Barry Bernardi, as the mechanic, was wearing as he was driving around.
At the same time. Yeah, he had it. That's where it came from.
Well, it came from the robbery, right, in the store.
Mm.
Yeah, that's probably.
They said the mask.
That's it.
They said rope. Why did he? But he never uses the rope.
No.
And knives, and he does use the knives.
Yeah. Interesting. Mm-hmm. You know what? There's a prequel here, I think.
Gosh, you mean after 9 movies on the subject, there's room for more?
But
how about the road trip from the hospital to Haddonfield?
Yeah.
There's much more you could tell. You could have killed 13 other people.
Unsolved murders.
He picks up Howard Hughes and.
Yeah.
I hope nobody's listening and stealing these ideas.
Right. I don't think so. It's just us here.
This is, I think, a particularly fun passage of lighting, effective lighting.
Yeah, this was actually one of the, more fun sequences, because it's all of the reveals, and here it really ramps up the suspense and then the horror of the whole deal.
About the time you're getting disoriented, she walks into a pool of light.
Right.
Nicely done.
Yeah, I think it hasn't been noted, though, which is another testament to Dean's genius, that all these are practical locations. There's no place to hang a light above.
Yeah,
this is a movie with 100% location movie.
Yeah, and very small rooms, too.
Yeah.
Styrofoam. Oh, I wonder if Randy
Headstone.
Moore still has that. Styrofoam headstone.
Oh.
Randy Moore did that lettering.
Really?
He and I come from the
it
same
was
design school.
It was very... Oh,
Oh, man.
Here's another moment. That has to be the last scary moment. What a relief that there's no more. Oh, my God. And now it
Oh,
begins.
yeah. One of your best tricks, Dean, coming right up, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was... and it was interesting because, again, here's where the composition, we're using this wide frame, gives you this tension, visual tension. What's lurking over there? And it now speeds on.
Something in this DVD it lost a little bit of its luster, though, because you had that light in the closet back there was on a dimmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
You actually changed the
very
lighting.
carefully brought up to reveal his face. And now the classic chase begins. And I think what's ironic is that, very often you can say, oh, I've seen this before. Except you didn't really see it before this. We've seen so many films afterwards that have used a lot of the techniques.
All these things, yeah.
That it's interesting to me that, to have done these things and then find them, as being used by a lot of other people for the same purpose, to scare an audience.
There's a little guest stunt, hand acting.
Yeah.
By yours truly. Seems like every time we had to break the set or bust a window or something, I was called in because, being the designer on the show, I knew where to hit it just right and maybe get it on take one.
Yeah, I think that was probably true. It's very disconcerting to me to have someone, do the action that doesn't know exactly what the intention is or how the gag works, and you end up doing it 2 or 3 times fruitlessly.
And John also know I was, by nature litigious, and I would sue the company if I hurt my hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also, I think a lot of it was the fact that Tommy, using his hands if something went wrong, but we didn't worry if he cut his face because we were never going to see his face.
That's
so,
right. Good point.
You could discard me and replace me easily.
Yeah, it's easy to get another hand from somewhere.
Or another art director.
Well, yeah. Hurry up, kid.
There's good movement, Nick.
Yeah.
Good walking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harder than it looks.
Hurry up, kid.
I think that was the 13th take, though. 'Cause I wanted it just right.
Oh, I'd love to mention the fact that on those exteriors, some of them, you were using HMIs, a kind of light, and there was some sort of anomaly with the power that caused them to waver, to not flicker exactly, but just to go up and down
just
slightly.
sort of like a throbbing feeling.
And I remember at the time it was a big discussion, and everybody was all upset because it was unexpected. And then all we had to do was look at the film, and it just looked so like an expensive effect that that you'd invented, and it was just great. It paid off beautifully.
Well, sometimes we get those happy accidents that show up in movies and make something you didn't expect.
Yeah, and pretend it was intentional. Oh, wait, I just spilled the beans. Shit.
You know, I'm noticing also that the Shape is a deadly killer, but he has a bad aim.
Yeah.
Yeah, like many psycho killers, it's like when the going gets tough,
Right.
he can't seem to seal the deal.
And now she's going to protect herself by what? Oh, she dropped the knife.
Threw the knife
That's
down.
true. I remember that. In the audience, everyone went, no, in
Don't
unison.
drop the knife.
Yeah, dumb.
That's fun, though. You're on top. You think you're in the, the privileged position of knowing.
Yeah.
That's fun.
He's gone. The evil's gone. Oh, no, that comes later.
Yeah.
Springtime in California.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at those falling leaves, that wind blowing.
Is that fake wind?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of, something in the bushes to emphasize the wind is blowing. Lots of little touches we pulled out.
Tommy, Lindsay, babies. I'm gonna take a little walk.
The boogeyman. I'm scared.
There's nothing to be scared of.
Are you sure?
There's some movement in the side of the frame.
Hmm.
That's a good rack.
Yeah.
Here comes some more good Tommy Wallace work.
Yeah, my biggest scene. I couldn't get too methody about it, though, because I really liked Jamie, and we'd had a good time on the shoot, and she was a real trooper, and hung out after we'd wrap, and chat.
You mean you didn't really want to hurt her?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I had to really work. That's professional acting, or what is it? Suit acting.
Sudan.
Yeah.
That's real professional stuff there.
I mean, you're shooting this in the closet.
Yeah.
Inside the actual
The
real
actual
closet.
closet. You
I
didn't
guess
make
that
a
was
set out of it.
Mr. Ray of Hollywood leaned back against the.
Yeah.
It was pretty crowded.
Oh,
Get that swinging light
Oh,
bulb going.
yeah.
good psycho
That's
moment.
scary.
Yeah.
She fashions another weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like
Love
MacGyver.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's the other eye.
Good shot.
Oh, it wasn't an eye. The
Oh,
first
the
one.
knife. The
Now.
keys, the keys.
Now she's got the.
Sure.
Oh. That had.
Surely he's dead now. He's going
Oh.
to die now.
Yeah. What a relief.
Oh,
The tension is over.
yeah. let's
Now we
see.
just wrap it up a little bit with some.
Yeah, where's my car keys?
But Nick Castle does not die so easy.
No, that
Watch this.
ace sit-up you do in this
Yeah, even with
sequence.
a stab wound in my stomach, I can still do a sit up.
Yeah, severed tendons and whatnot.
Oh,
Oh,
did
Did she throw the knife
Oh,
down?
not
again?
again.
Jesus.
She hasn't learned yet, has she?
And she's not moving too good either.
No.
Come here. Listen to me.
But like a good Girl Scout, she's taking care of her charges.
Takes care of the kids.
This is, by the way, the genesis of Deborah's subsequent success with Adventures in Babysitting. This is where
The
that
flip-
idea came from.
The flip side.
Yeah.
All right, and now, of course, she immediately
Relaxes.
leaves, runs for help.
She'll just think about it for a minute before, oh shit. That's John's ghoulish sense of humor at its best. It's grisly, but it's also funnier than hell.
Yeah. Dr. Loomis suspects something.
Loomis, there's a perfect example, that Nancy Loomis.
Right. The use of the wide frame once again. Instead of just a close-up of her, you can build the suspense. Who he's going to get her. And, oh, what a relief she's...
Whoa.
Oh, now we have the other actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming up on Tony Moran any minute. There he is, folks, Tony Moran.
That's got to do it.
Dean, who did the stunt fall?
Was it Jim Winburn?
Well, I thought it was a black guy.
It could have been. But he's been stabbed with various implements, shot numerous times. Finally, he's dead.
Huh.
What's the boogeyman?
Who was the boogeyman?
Yeah, it was the boogeyman.
As a matter of fact, it was.
Oh no.
And ladies and gentlemen, the sequel is born. Really, before this, and certainly for 2 years after this, we didn't know from sequels really. And then it just exploded. When the idea of Halloween 2 was introduced to us, we all scoffed. We thought, what? We did it. It's one movie. We don't need any more. But, oh boy, were we naive.
Well, Michael Myers entered the popular culture. Just as any
The audiences
evil
didn't
character
want to let him die.
No.
Keep bringing him back for more fun.
And you were saying, Tommy, that this whole little sequence here of these shots were added in editing. It was not
we
in the
we
script.
needed to let the audience down, and that seemed like a good way to do it. Was cut to various empty neighborhood shots full of expectation. Where is he?
Where he had been.
And
where evil
could he
things
be
had
there
taken
again?
place.
And we
Exactly.
did not have those shots. What we did have was the kind of shots you get before the slate comes in or after the slate goes out and before the actor enters the scene.
Superfluous moments of film.
Adam Hollander. That's a famous cameraman. His name too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And wait, and Nick Castle.
Castle.
Oh no.
Oh, that's right. Wait, I thought I was. You're right.
stunt.
Of
Jim
all of
Lumber.
us, I didn't get a name in the front titles, did I?
No.
No.
Yeah, just a,
And it's interesting how all the names on these credits have all moved on to become, actually influential people in their various fields.
it's exciting.
Like the Grip,
Yep.
Walt Hill. He did like a lot of
Famous
good
director.
movies.
Yeah.
Walter Hill.
Yeah. After being a grip, he
Yeah, became a director and
the tail end of that story about the shots at the end of the movie, it was all of them were just long enough. We didn't do any optical printing or extend shots. It was all just barely
hilarious.
long enough to.
Bowling Green Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, that's part of the ironic humor
Yeah.
of John and everybody, I think, is.
You know, the Coupe de Villes didn't get a mention on the music.
No respect.
Cute.
No respect.
Well, it was certainly fun watching this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you for this.
That wasn't
Nighty
thanking you.
night. Happy
Yeah.
Halloween.